Quoting from AMD's Q4 earnings call, Lisa Su said, development of Microsoft's next-gen Xbox featuring an AMD semi-custom SoC is progressing well to support a launch in 2027. RDNA 5 shares chiplets between this and desktop cards. So if Magnus, and Lisa Su confirmed this, if the next-gen Xbox is ready for 2027, the dedicated RDNA 5 GPUs will be ready for 2027. Things slip, who knows if it's late or whatever, but I think this finally confirms that RDNA 5 is not just in Xbox, but probably in laptop and desktop as well coming out next year, right? Do you think Nvidia should care if AMD launches and who knows, the exact compute unit count can change, a 154 compute unit RDNA 5, which in tests and simulations I've seen behind the scenes has 10% better IPC and rasterization than RDNA 4, which is already pretty fast per CU at that. And then also has like over double the ray tracing capabilities per CU. Should NVIDIA care? Because if you do the math on that, that gets you something probably 2 to 3 times faster than what AMD has now with RDNA 4. If so facto, 5090, not just killer, but destroyer. Should NVIDIA care if AMD has a flagship come out that like is way faster than the 5090 and they don't have anything for half a year?
I think NVIDIA, even if gaming is more of a back burner thing, at least to keep up brand recognition and brand loyalty, brand positivity, I think they need to have some type of response, even if like it's compared to what they usually put out low volume. Like I don't think they can let AMD completely run away with the market. Like, especially every time we talk about AI, like string on my back AI bubble. But NVIDIA has to be considering that that's a realistic thing that will, like, this will change eventually. And gaming is a reliable market for them. Like, I think for that alone, they have to have some type of response, even if it's not as high volume as they would necessarily do usually.
Again, even if it's just like the RTX 50 series, the 5090 comes out, takes all performance crowns, and then no one can buy it for half a year. Like, even if that's what they do, when I see these reports of delayed to 2028, AMD has just confirmed they're launching RDNA 5 next year. Do we really think NVIDIA wouldn't have an answer? Remember, people, this is the same company that I've covered in video after video will do things like not have any supply for the 3060. 6600 XT comes out. All of a sudden, you can buy a 3060 for, like, this is the company that always seems to have a launch ready when the competition enters the market. Like, read between the lines. I think NVIDIA kind of has to have something come out next year, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. Unless AMD massively fails expectations with that design for one reason or another, I don't think it could just be a 5090 Super.
Yeah. At a minimum, I would expect big RDNA 5 to probably be at least 30% faster than a 5090, if not 50, unless the design has some issues. I don't think NVIDIA wants to see a performance loss like that. And it doesn't matter how much you push the 5090. It's not no 5090 Ti, even if they give it faster memory, fully enable it, and push it to what? It's already at like 600 watts. Were they going to push it to 1,000 watts? I mean, at most, I think they could add 20% more performance. I think they'd still lose by 10, 20%. And I just don't see the point in doing that if you can paper launch at least a 6090 and have that at least on the charts at Hardware Unboxed. So we'll see, and who knows, maybe things slip. Let's just keep in mind, though, AMD is on the record now saying they're ready to launch RDNA 5 next year. I would suggest that means NVIDIA isn't 100% sure they can't launch anything until 2028, right? And this brings up one more final question here that I think is a more interesting one. Would Sony be stupid to not launch the PS6 next year if the Xbox is out?
I really don't know, though, how much that needs to be part of Sony's calculus anymore. Like,
it's not the same as Nvidia versus Radeon.
Yeah, like, because like if it were 2024 and they were putting out a Series X 2024 edition, I don't think Sony needs to respond to that necessarily. But I almost don't know if I see it like them putting something out in 2027 as like because it necessitates a response to Xbox. I just think that's the right timing from Sony's cadence. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't know really. I don't think Sony needs to think about what Xbox is doing as much as they used to.
Yeah, well, and let's keep in mind too. I mean, I have documents with that clearly state production of PS6 handheld and the PS6 mid 2027. By the way, that perfectly coincides with where manufacturing should be for a lot of RDNA 5 chiplets for desktop and stuff. Maybe a little afterwards, like a couple months later, right? But what that tells you is Sony was, at least as of a year ago, planning to manufacture and then launch the console late 2027. And the question becomes, should they delay it at all? And I just think it's a thing of like, well, so, but how much are they going to delay it? Till late 2028? Are they going to keep the same design that they've already locked in? So, or are they going to update it? Are they going to go, oh, we're switching to 2 nanometer and like RDNA 5.5 or 6? It's like, I don't think so. So it's like, even if supply was lower, wouldn't you might as well launch it sooner? And then you also think about the PS6 handheld die. It's only 135 millimeters squared. I mean, that thing probably is going to be a really cost-effective device. It would almost make more sense just to launch that to save money on, versus the PS5 base or something. So I don't know. I still think it would be a tactical mistake for Sony if Microsoft comes out, even if it's $1,200 with Xbox Magnus, and then Sony's like, we have something that's weaker coming out in a year. It's like, were the PS6 going to be stronger? I think it's easier to come out later. And isn't there just like a hype factor? Like the hype might be gone by the time it launches compared to if it was right next to all these other launches.
Especially if we got the Switch 2 in 25, this in 27. Like, I mean, it might be, people might not be as excited about new console releases for Sony to just come out, I don't know, that much later than everyone else.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking there. And I thought I had to say something because half of the comments are, is the PS6 still coming out next year right now? So, I mean, but all I can say is I think it probably is, guys. I've always had documents saying it's being manufactured in 27. And by 27, I mean like mid 27 for a launch later that year. And then now we have confirmation that Xbox will be ready next year. That's just more evidence that Sony will want to have it out sooner to compete with that. Tired of getting hit in the face by unfair prices for Microsoft software? Well, you don't need to deal with that anymore. Start off 2026 right by going to CDkeyoffer.com. That's right, this piece of content is once again sponsored by a sponsor that has been a supporter of Moore's Law is Dead for almost the entire channel's life, CDkeyoffer.com. And I've been partnering with them for this long because they just give gamers something that I think they need to have. Fair pricing on Microsoft Windows and Office products. And in fact, if you go down to the description, you can click on the links there to support the channel by checking out their products, but then also support the channel further if you use offer code BROKENSILICON to save yourself an additional 25% on all Microsoft software. And there's also Die Shrink to save 3% off everything else on the website. Once again, I'm very happy to be working with CDkeyoffer.com another year of this channel's life, and I hope you'll show support to a company that supports this channel, CDkeyoffer.com.